How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be very happy to have you. Someone just posted a picture of the price lists at the Masters. I'll be there next Friday with my son, who I hope will be able to go. He's got to take 3 wisdom teeth out. Look at that, the pimento cheese, the egg salad. This is for the women's amateur right now. Masters Club. I can't wait to go to Augusta next week. No one ever says I can't wait to go to Augusta, except during the Masters. I like Augusta. I've got great friends over there. All right, we have to move on. I will take your phone calls here. Be patient with me. 877-973-7425. If you see live streams of my show from my main studio, now behind me are 4 books. They're out of focus. They're the books I have written over time. There's only one I really liked, Before You Wake. If you ever want to read one of my books, the last chapter is actually some of my favorite recipes, my kids' favorite recipes. It's the book that I really enjoyed writing. I wrote it without any help. It was very personal to me. But another book I wrote, my buddy Bill Blankshain helped me write it, was called You Will Be Made to Care. I coined a phrase when I was the editor of Red State back in 2010 or so, I guess, when the Supreme Court gay marriage decision came about. And there was a commenter on the website who said, I just simply don't care about this issue. I don't care if 2 dudes want to get married. I don't care about it. It doesn't affect me. I wish you'd stop writing about it. And I replied, you will be made to care. You may not care, but you'll be forced to have an opinion on it. The left will not allow you to sit on the sidelines. They will not allow you to be silent. They will make you take a stand, and you will either be made to care or you will be made to be silent. You will be made to care. You will be forced to take a position, whether you want to take a position or not. And if you take the wrong position, you will be punished for that position. The things of the world hate the things of God. In the very first chapter of the Bible, God made marriage between man and a woman and created us male and female. We don't get to change a paradigm created by God. The word in the very first chapter of the Bible is bara. It is a divine creation, created it wholly out of nothing. He created mankind. Bara, we don't do that. When the Bible talks about us building or creating stuff, it's a completely different word. Only God gets to do it with the word bara. It is a divine creation, and he barad us, made us male and female, and he put us together in union. And we on the world want to change these things into our own image and twist those things. And gay marriage is the law of the land. We're not putting the genie back in the bottle. Evangelicals lost, but people said it wouldn't affect them. People said it wouldn't affect you. People said it wouldn't affect me. And ever since, people have been losing their jobs if they don't want to accommodate it. People have been punished if they don't want to respect the institution of marriage changed by judges, not by people. My position all along was always, I'm a Christian. I believe God made us male and female, and he made marriage an institution. But we as a society, if we decide we're smarter than God and want to change it, it should be changed over time through the natural processes of the evolution of this country. And we had a lot of people voting to keep marriage between man and a woman, but Anthony Kennedy led a 5-4 Supreme Court majority to change it to marriage is because you feel good and whatever. We lost the fight. We're not going to put the genie back in the bottle. But I would note the extraordinary number of Americans over the years who have been punished for saying they disagree with that, for voicing traditional concerns. Comes now Jaden Ivey of the Chicago Bulls until yesterday. Jaden Ivey got upset. He said, quote, they proclaim Pride Month in the NBA. They show it to the world. They say, come on, join us for Pride Month to celebrate unrighteousness. They proclaim it on billboards. They proclaim it in the streets, unrighteousness. He has now been fired by the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls are now confirming it. I said nothing yesterday. I said nothing. I wanted to see how this played out. There have been concerns about his mental health. Now it turns out today we have a fuller picture of this. The concerns about his mental health are because Jaden Ivey converted to Christianity a little while ago and has been openly talking about and professing his faith since he did that. And the Chicago Bulls decided that actually he's probably suffering from mental health issues by embracing Christianity and proclaiming his faith and being opposed to having to celebrate Pride Month, forced by his team and league to celebrate Pride Month. Sports commentators are coming out of the woodwork saying, I think he's got mental illness. That's what it is, mental illness. Maybe he does. I would remind the Christians listening now, you were all very quick to embrace Kanye West in his conversion to Christianity and sing his Chick-fil-A song, and then it turned out he's bipolar and got issues. And I don't know about the authenticity of his conversion, though I do know several people who were involved with it and say it was authentic, but he is battling mental health issues. But I find it very notable that the NBA and the Chicago Bulls are being very matter-of-fact today that, yep, they tossed him because he's not down with Pride Month. We have a whole month to celebrate Pride. Have you noticed how it is liturgical now? It is the calendar historically, going back to the rise of Christianity in the Roman Empire, arranged itself around the Christian liturgy. You had the holy season of Lent into the holy week of Easter. Then you had Christmas. You've had Epiphany. You've had all these sorts of holy days. And over time, secular society moved beyond them. The Catholic Church, largely more so than the Protestant churches, still maintain them. And now what secularism has done is they have embraced a litany of days around pride and gay rights. You have Trans Awareness Month, Trans Awareness Week, Coming Out National Coming Out Day, National Coming Out Week. You've got Pride Month. You've got Pride Week. You've got Black Pride Week. You've got Trans Pride Week. You've got all of these different weeks around the year. Remember last year when Trans Awareness Day fell on the same day as Easter, and the Biden administration made a bigger deal about Trans Awareness Day than they actually did Easter. This is where we are as a fallen secular society. And people have been punished now for these things. Coach Melissa Beatty Smooze spoke up for her players at San Jose State University. She had people threatening her. Someone shot at her in her kitchen. She was told it was mental illness and she should get psychiatric help for speaking up against putting boys in girls sports. She was made to care. Dane Ortland is a pastor in Illinois. He has not spoken loudly about these issues publicly. He has ministered to his flock in a traditional conservative Christian way, but he has put up this tweet. I am a lifelong fanatical Bulls fan, been to many games, bought your merch, supported loyally through ups and downs until today. My greatest loyalty, as is Jaden Ivey's, is to Jesus Christ in truth, and I'm grateful to live in a nation that protects freedom of religion and freedom of speech. Your violation of the First Amendment, and even more problematically, your ideologically selective while culturally amenable canceling of a man who did nothing more than hold to his convictions, is a tragic capitulation to the spirit of the age. I urge you to do the right thing and publicly apologize to Jaden, acknowledging the error of censoring a man for believing what Scripture says and what Jesus taught. What's more is when you think about the NBA generally. Philip put this together in the show notes and put this together for me to be mindful of on the show today, the level of outrage over this guy from the NBA and how the NBA turned a blind eye, for example, to LeBron James putting up a picture of a police officer who had saved a black woman but was presumed to have harmed her. And he said, "You're next," clearly threatening to target this guy. He got a pass. Dennis Rodman on the Chicago Bulls. While playing for the Bulls during their second three-peat era, Rodman was involved in a high-profile incident during a game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. After a rebound, he stormed to the sideline, deliberately kicked courtside photographer Eugene Amos in the groin. Amos was taken away on a stretcher. The NBA suspended him for 11 games and fined him $25,000 and settled a lawsuit with Amos for $200,000. Despite the very public nature of the event and Rodman's already colorful off-court reputation, the Bulls kept him on the roster. Bobby Portis in 2017, right before the season opener, Porter got into a physical fight with teammate Nikola Mirotic during practice. Portis punched Mirotic in the face, causing facial fractures, a concussion, and hospitalization. The Bulls suspended Portis for the first 8 games of the season, but otherwise kept him on the team. Mirotic reportedly had a me or him ultimatum, and the organization sided with Portis, and the rest of the locker room backed him. Joaquin Noah. Early in his Bulls career, in 2008, Noah was arrested in Gainesville, Florida on charges of marijuana possession and having an open container of alcohol. He was spotted on a sidewalk with a plastic cup. Police found marijuana during the search. He accepted a deferred prosecution agreement, 6 months probation, a $200 fine, and charges were eventually dropped. There was a public story. The Bulls did not release him, and the Bulls did not trade him. But you say you're not down with Pride Month, and they will drop you from the roster because it is the spirit of the age. It's the spirit of the age. You will be made to care, friends. You will not be allowed to live a comfortable life in this country if you do not voice the sexual preferences of the world around you. You will be made to care. You will be made to care, and you will be forced to support the spirit of the age, or there will be consequences. But to those of you who are people of faith, I will tell you, you can live your best life now, and it'll be the best life you ever have in eternity. You will not live a good life. My favorite psalm. My favorite psalms is Psalm 73. In Psalm 73, Asaph looks around at the wealthy and the scoffers, the people who mock God. And he says, "Lord, how is this right and fair? The people who love you are scorned. We suffer derision. We are mocked. We are treated poorly by the world around us, and the people who hate you seem to have a great life. They seem to be doing well. They're fat and happy. How is it, Lord, that the people who hate you prosper and the people who love you are punished?" And Asaph wrote, he prayed about it, and he went into the temple, and he realized it was an act of mercy. The scoffers, the mockers, and the people who hate God, this is the best in all eternity they will have it. From the moment they die to the end of the age of eternity, they will live a terrible life separated from God. Those of you like Jaden Ivey who have embraced the Lord in faith and stand for your convictions, this is the worst you're ever going to have it. however bad you have it today, the day after you step into eternity, every day thereafter is going to be better. So the Chicago Bulls, the owners, and those who back their decision, they're going to have a great life probably. The wicked prosper until the final day. And it's all downhill for them. What you see now, the wicked prospering, it's an act of mercy. Jay Ivey's going to be fine. He will be fine. The number of athletes who have spoken up on his behalf has been encouraging in the last 24 hours. A number of them have come out and spoken in support of him. He'll be fine, and he'll be rewarded. And on the last day, well, it'll be too late for many who realize they were actually the ones on the wrong side of history. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. Let's contrast the NBA to the NHL. The NHL is it's a fantastic men of honor, put it to you that way. Radko Gudas went out onto the ice. What is he? He's with is he with the Ducks or he injured a player so badly the player is out of the season, and then he himself got injured. And well, he showed up on the ice nonetheless injured so that the other team could then beat the heck out of him. And he went off the ice not well. So essentially what happened is a hockey player, Radko Gudas, injured another player badly. He hit a guy named Austin Matthews, who is now out for the season probably. And the way it works in hockey is someone is going to pay back your team for the violence you have inflicted. And he got injured. He is the captain of the Ducks. And instead of having another one of his players get the snot kicked out of them for what they did, he injured, went on the ice to withstand the blows of the Maple Leafs, and himself is now injured. He did the right thing. Men of character in the NHL, unlike in the NBA, where, remember, they've defended the brutality of the communist regime in China in the NBA because they make money off China. Now, let me tell you how you can make some money with sound investment and get ahead of the game, and the insights to keep you ahead of everybody else is going to SwissAmerica.com/Eric. Fill out the form there. Get their Secret War on Cash report at SwissAmerica.com/ERICK. But also subscribe to their podcast, Swiss America Trading on YouTube. You get all the links at SwissAmerica.com/Eric. Click on the News and Views tab. If you do, you can be ahead of the game. You can understand disruptions in the world economy, commodity pricing, precious metals. You can even get a precious metal IRA. You can buy gold coins from Swiss America. I need to put them on Instagram. I mentioned that yesterday. I got some great gold coins from Swiss America, and the value of these coins has surged since I bought them because of gold prices. Go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric today. If you're interested in buying gold coins or gold bars, you can do that. You can put them in a precious metal IRA. You can find out the news of the day, get ahead of the game on the news affecting markets with Swiss America's insights. Go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric. At least get the free report, The Secret War on Cash. SwissAmerica.com/ERICK. Greetings. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here, 877-973-7425. Let us go to the phones. Let's go to Junior calling from Palm Beach. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. Erickson. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for being here. What's going on?
So with respect to your characterization that people don't like Trump, but they fear and loathe the Democrats, and you supported this opinion with some data, and you referenced data from 2007 to 2009, and you put a whole bunch of demographic groups, very, very articulate in your disclosure of their opinions. And then you obviously pulled some data from 23 to 25. The problem is this sort of representation omits a major, major asterisk and caveat to your data. In 07 through 09, you had the Obama phenomenon. which attracted a tremendous amount of support from minority voters, women voters. He was the first black, truly option for a candidate. He was charismatic. He was educated. He's a sharp guy. He's good looking. He had all these facets to him that clearly moved the needle. In 23 to 25, you had a president, Biden, who was effectively asleep. I mean, they call him Sleepy Joe, but he was really asleep. And now you're comparing those sentiments to present data in terms of the public opinion, which is fluid, constantly in politics. It's fluid, to how people feel about Trump today. And the reason they don't like Trump today is because in 2025, they loved him because he was running on a promise, or prior to 2025, he was running on a promise to expose Epstein, no new foreign wars, no regime change. And so, like, the whole thing is basically, in my opinion, invalid.
Well, so now just to keep really in mind here,
about that data.
Well, listen, well articulated. Here is why I would disagree with you on this: is it's not my data; it is YouGov's data. The pollster YouGov. It is their comprehensive polling of the American public, and the reason they chose 2007, 2009. You're absolutely right. It showed a massive shift towards the Democratic Party by Barack Obama. Barack Obama brought in college-educated voters. Barack Obama poured in, interestingly enough, college-educated white men. Barack Obama really was not able to move them into the Democratic Party. The reason that YouGov, not Eric Erickson, chose 2023 to 2025 is because that shift into the Democratic Party, Junior, that Barack Obama, you accurately put your finger on, is the reason it happened. That shift to the Democratic Party by all of these demographics maintained itself. It's why Donald Trump lost the popular vote in 2016 and why he lost in 2020. Wasn't contrary to what his supporters say fraud. It was that the Democratic Party was able to hold on to this idea of a multicultural, progressive, forward-looking, future-looking party of youth that Barack Obama symbolized. And then in 2023, it all started going the other way. That's the whole purpose of the data. It's not a false comparison to start it with Obama and then move it to 2023. It's to show that the Democratic Party had been able to maintain that coalition until 2023, and the coalition that Barack Obama built is now collapsing. And the reason for the collapse is because of the far left progressive drift of the Democratic Party since Barack Obama. Barack Obama was a progressive, but Barack Obama never tried to force boys into girls' sports. Barack Obama was a progressive, but he never opened the border and flooded the country with illegal aliens. Barack Obama was a progressive, but ICE actually carried out deportations and brought CNN along for the ride to cover the deportations. The collapse of the Democratic Party support became significant in 2023 because of the massive shift away from some policies the public perceived as reasonable. That's why YouGov put the data there. That's why it's not me. This is not Eric Erickson's data. This is YouGov's data. And it's them showing the shift. And that gets me to Pete Hegseth. Yes, there is an issue here related to Pete Hegseth. So if you haven't seen, I'm actually going to be on Chris Starwalt's show on News Nation this Sunday. We pre-recorded it today for Easter. And Chris was asking me about Pete Hegseth and his prayer. If you haven't heard, Pete Hegseth prayed publicly for the soldiers, essentially to exterminate evil, to be ruthlessly violent against evil. And progressives are upset with Pete Hegseth invoking prayer. In fact, let me give you this is commentary from a Washington Post reporter on MS Now talking about Pete Hegseth's open display of his Christian faith and praying for the soldiers and allowing prayer in the Pentagon, which, by the way, the Pentagon has allowed Catholic masses to be held going back to the Clinton administration in the Pentagon. Hegseth is now allowing an evangelical prayer service on Sunday, and suddenly they're all outraged about it.
Yeah, so Secretary Hegseth is doing something we were told was unprecedented, which is he holds these monthly, strictly evangelical, conservative Christian services inside the Pentagon. And he's also, per the some of the quotes that you offered on social media, at press conferences, often invoking Jesus Christ and talking, in particular, since the conflict with Iran began, talking about that conflict in very specific kind of spiritual ways in which he talks about invoking, Jesus Christ in that context. So what we were told was that this is a real break from basically modern history, where not that people didn't, there are chaplains all through the military, not that people didn't talk about sort of civil religion, God, et cetera, something higher power, that you should tap into, that kind of thing. But that there was a real concerted effort made for decades and decades and decades to not use divisive language inside the military and inside the Pentagon, whether that's because of morale, force cohesion, and also sort of, especially when you have these conflicts with Muslim majority nations, where you're essentially saying, you can do anything you want because God is not on their side. God is on our side.
You got that? We've spent a lot of time in this country giving lip service to God, but how dare he invoke the name of Jesus? Carolyn Leavitt, an evangelical Christian, press secretary of the White House, responded to all of these wild allegations and attacks on Pete Hegseth's display of faith.
Since you mentioned Easter and prayers, I wanted to ask you about something the Pope said yesterday. So Pope Leo said yesterday, and I quote him, "God does not listen to the prayer of those who wage war." Can you comment on that?
I think our nation was a nation founded 250 years ago almost on Judeo-Christian values. And we've seen presidents, we've seen the leaders of the Department of War, and we've seen our troops go to prayer during the most turbulent times in our nation's history. And I don't think there's anything wrong with our military leaders or with the president calling on the American people to pray for our service members and those who are serving our country overseas. In fact, I think it's a very noble thing to do. And if you talk to many service members, they will tell you they appreciate the prayers and support from the Commander-in-Chief and from his cabinet.
We suddenly have members of the press and Democratic Party outraged about the Secretary of Defense offering a prayer in Jesus' name. Do you know George Washington did that? Franklin Roosevelt did that. The left, you got to remember, has no sense of history. The left doesn't know the history of this country. They don't respect the history of this country. They think the founding of this country was bad. They don't care that the precedent was set with George Washington. They are literally condemning the Secretary of Defense for prayer to Jesus, who is the God of all creation. 3 billion people on planet Earth this Sunday will celebrate the resurrection of a carpenter from Nazareth. 3 billion people. The largest religion on planet Earth. More people have believed in the resurrection of Christ in the history of this planet than anything else. It's dominant religion. Take all the people who've come before us and all the people who have professed faith. Christianity has been a dominant idea. It fundamentally changed Western civilization. Do you know why we have hospitals? Because of Christians. Do you know why we have women's rights? Because of Christians. Do you know why we have care for children? Because of Christians. I'm not making this stuff up. Women's rights came from a movement of Christians in the Middle Ages into the 17th, 18th, and 19th century, where women, by being created in God's image just as men were presumed to have some value that non-Christian religions and secular society did not give to them. Prior to the rise of Christians trying to help the wounded and the ill, we did not have hospitals. We had wards for people to go be piled into to let them die. Christians believed they might try to save lives, and the idea spread around the world from Christian missionaries. Christians started adoption centers so that people could adopt the neglected children of the world that others had cast aside and did not want. Christians started adoption centers. Christians started hospitals. Christians were the original feminists. Christianity has improved the world, and now Western secular society believes that if the Secretary of Defense prays in the name of Jesus for the destruction of the enemies who want the Christians and everyone else dead, that that's a bad thing when it's actually a very good thing. We should be encouraged that we have a president who has surrounded himself with those who take their faith as seriously as Pete Hegseth does. And I may not always agree with Pete Hegseth, and I'm perfectly happy to criticize him on stuff, but he's a changed man because of his faith. Pete Hegseth is a different man from what he was before he discovered his faith. And if you know anything about his story, the way he lived his life before he became a man of faith, he's changed. It was nice to see the president the other day release a letter from Franklin Graham explaining the gospel message to the president on Palm Sunday, because I think the president's actually surrounded by a bunch of faith leaders in the White House who really don't take their faith that seriously and who have not tried to save the soul of the president. So I'm glad to a degree that these people are taking matters seriously. And Franklin Graham is trying to save the soul of the president. But the media is hostile to all of it. We are in Holy Week. And Holy Week is a time that Christians believe that Jesus of Nazareth was executed, killed, buried, and rose again from the dead. And every Holy Week, the National Press Corps runs stories about how it's a fable, it didn't happen, it's a mythology, the Christians really weren't persecuted like they say they were, it was no big deal. Even now in Nigeria, Christians are being slaughtered wholesale. On Palm Sunday, hundreds of Christians were murdered, attacked for their faith. And do you know what the New York Times says? Well, it really wasn't persecution. It was just a skirmish in an overwhelmingly Christian town. Why was a skirmish happen in an overwhelmingly Christian town? Because Islamic radicals invaded and murdered all the Christians. And the New York Times doesn't want you to believe the Christian persecution happening before your eyes, because the things of the world hate the things of God. And the secular left and the Islamic radicals, both things of the world, can be aligned against the things of God. And the New York Times would have you believe the persecution happening before your very eyes is not happening. The NBA will persecute the Christians, and the secular left media will attack the Secretary of Defense for praying in Jesus' name, because, oh, God forbid, in the past, they didn't really mean it. Did you hear what the Washington Post reporter was saying? That ultimately is what it boils down to, is, well, in the past, they didn't really mean it, and now it's a problem, because the Secretary of Defense actually means to pray in the name of Jesus Christ for the safety and support of the soldiers abroad. How dare he really believe it? And that's the problem. The left really hates it that you and I actually believe this stuff, because they don't even believe that the Ayatollah believes in what he actually believes. They cannot comprehend sincere faith, whether for or against the things of God. They just can't do it. They believe in nothing, so they believe in everything. Greetings and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. Let's go to border Jacks Beach, Florida. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, Eric. How's it going, sir?
Good. What's going on?
You were discussing Higgs's services in the Pentagon, and I didn't hear who was saying that, but they were actually giving him grief about preaching Christ there. Well, the people who nuked the World Trade Center are actually in charge of the city now. So how do those two things? How are they not the same?
Great point. Yeah, the mayor of New York has literally invited people into Gracie Mansion, the mayor's house, for Islamic prayers during Ramadan. And you would think that there would be press outrage, but they're only outraged about the Christians. They're never outraged about the Muslims. Now, we all know what's going on here. This reminds me of the British comedian Jimmy Carr. I've mentioned this before. He told a series of very awkward jokes about Christians and about Mary and Joseph, and the crowd did not find them very funny. And he asked the crowd if they wanted to hear his Muslim jokes, and the crowd went wild. And he says, no. All those jokes, they would blow up. He pointed out, if he's not crazy enough to tell jokes about the Muslims, he'd lose his head. What are you Christians going to do? Forgive me? That's what he said. It goes back to Charlie Hebdo. Remember, they drew the Prophet Muhammad and lost their lives. Islamic radicals stormed into the building and chopped them all to pieces. The press is allied with the Islamists because they hope that they'll be the last ones standing, that the Islamic radicals will kill all the Christians. Please, we don't believe that nonsense. We'll respect you. What they don't realize is we see this perfectly in the story of Iran. The Iranian progressives and the Iranian Islamic radicals allied together to drive out of the country the Jews, the Christians, and the supporters of the Shah. And the moment they won, the Islamic radicals turned the guns on the progressives of Iran. They will not accommodate progressives. They will use progressives as a means to an end. It's why you can have the Islamic radical running for the Senate as a left-wing progressive Democrat and support gay rights and trans rights and all of that, because the Muslims know the guy doesn't really believe it. He's just having means to acquire power. They'll turn on the left as quickly as they possibly can once they get the power. We're having a rude awakening here in this country now. Pay attention to what's happening. Now, also, pay attention to your hot water and your power bill. Our power bill went down when we got a Rinnai tankless water heater because we had electric water heaters in our house. We had two smaller ones that covered the whole house, and we got rid of them. We yanked the tanks and put in the tankless water heater from Rinnai. Our power bill went down. We have the Rinnai water heater set up on a UPS backup. And it's just like a one you'd get from Best Buy or something for your computer, and it flips the switch when the power goes out in the house, so we still have hot water. The whole thing continues to work as we're with hot water, whether the power is on or not, with our Rinnai tankless water heater. And our kids no longer fight over hot water. Everybody in the house can take showers and not run out of hot water. You can too. Go to TalkingTankless.com. Yank your tank. If you go to TalkingTankless.com, there's a little button you click. You can talk to a Rinnai professional about getting rid of your tanks and putting in a tankless water heater so you have hot water forever. We did it in our house, and it's been a game changer for our house. Nobody has to coordinate shower time anymore. We can all get up on Sunday. We can all take showers, and we never worry about taking cold showers in our house. TalkingTankless.com. Go to TalkingTankless.com today.